Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Grenier. I'm the Marketing Director at Granite Telecommunications, and I'm also a board member of our Alliance of Channel Women group. I am so excited today to have four influential and powerful groups in our channel. First, I'd like to introduce Kelli Ballou-McMillan. She is with Exposure, Inclusion, and Diversity. Hey, Kelli.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So excited. Kris Blackmon, Channel Partners and Allies of the Channel. Hi, Kris.
Hi. How's it going, ladies?
Raquel Wiley. She's with our ACW Diversity and Inclusion Chair. Hi, Raquel.
Hi. How you guys doing today?
And I can't forget my other half here in the ACW, my co-chair in communications, Mayka Rosales-Peterson, who's also on the Diversity and Inclusion member board.
Hello, thank you for having me.
How are you?
Good. So excited to be here and have this awesome conversation with these amazing, influential women here.
Absolutely. And, getting right into it, we're going to be, I feel like, educating and speaking to the organizations that you all have created and around the topic of making waves with diversity initiatives.
Yes.
And the topic even focusing more around the commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, organizations paving the way in our channel. So I would like to start with you guys talking about your groups, telling us a little bit about the initiatives. And Kris, I'd like to start with you.
Yeah, so Allies of the Channel Council is something that the Channel Partners team started last spring in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. We're seeing protests erupting around the country, and we didn't want to issue just one more statement of support. We wanted to actually do something. So we put this group together, the Allies of the Channel Council. It's a coalition of voices from around the industry, so it's not just channel partners, employees. We've got, I think everyone actually here is, or quite a few of you are actually involved with that. Kelli is my co-chair for the research committee with that, so we're commissioning, doing some independent research, and then we work hand in hand with channel partners research like the MSP 501. To try to spotlight our communities of color within these research organizations. And then on top of that, Channel Partners created a separate diversity and inclusion section on their websites and on Channel Futures. And then they made a commitment that 30% of speakers at their events moving forward would be people of color. And that's not exactly an easy feat to achieve in this industry, but for two events in a row now, we've managed to hit that. And then Channel Partners has all kinds of new diversity and inclusion initiatives coming down the pike. We've got workshops that they're about to launch, a new community forum for people to come and have these conversations. So my co-chair on the Allies of the Channel Council, Kelli Danziger, is the general manager over at Channel Partners, and they're doing a whole lot of really great things over there.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Kelli, so, participating with Kris, can you explain a little bit more too about your organization, Channel Partner Allies?
One of the reasons why I am, I guess, the time that I spent with Kris and wanted to help chair that committee is because with Exposure, we are a space where we've launched in Channel Partners 2019 at the end of the year, 2019. And we launched really to help people find the right seat on the bus. And to bring more awareness to the channel, not only with regards to people of color in this space, but also with regards to millennials that are coming into this space and helping to get more so that we can create a succession plan, really is what it kind of spearheaded out of. And then obviously, with the right before, as we pivoted to virtual, we started doing our webinar series on building your brand and how to create a good culture and those sorts of things. And then clearly we were hit over the head with things that that other groups have been dealing with a long time with regards to I don't want to say the Me Too movement, but the scenario where Black Lives Matter, right? And where we really had to take a look at what was going on in the industry, right? You can't show up after seeing a man be murdered at the hands of police and expect to do your job effectively and with the same amount of passion when you aren't being respected in your daily lives and your daily walk in your communities. And so we launched an X Talk at the time. We met with Adam and Ian and had just a really open conversation about what they were going to do within their organizations to make sure that their employees that were Black, brown, yellow, white, everyone can come to work and be included and feel seen and heard. And so that's kind of just grown. And then obviously we're part of Allies in the Channel. Quite a few exposure members, our board members are part of the Allies in the Channel group, and the same with ACW, which you'll hear about here in a moment. Some of the initiatives that Exposure has for this year is we're going to continue our webinar series. We actually just had one in January where we discussed what it looks like to, have a plan, as we all did in 2020. We had this amazing plan to come out and crush the year, and then COVID hit, right? So we had to pivot very quickly, and what it means to plan and organize your life around that as much as possible, right? And then also make sure that you're being healthy and you're taking into consideration your peace. And so, which I feel like is a big part of Exposure as well. We launched our website at the end of Q4, and we have a launch date for our membership now. So you guys can hold us accountable to May 19th, or I'm going to say in May, we're going to launch our membership out. And we're really excited to do that because it's really going to help us with our outreach, our mentorship platform that we're curating, which will be a 6-week course. And then we're also having our diversity, equity, and inclusion platform and course that we're creating for our sub-agents and our supplier partners to be a part of, so that they can kind of go through some sort of training as it relates to channel and how to create a inclusive environment where your employees want to show up and be a part.
That's awesome, Kelli. You have a lot happening with Exposure for sure. And I must say, without being familiar with you, I've seen Exposure being pushed like crazy on LinkedIn. So I feel like your messaging and kind of putting that planning out there is hitting the mark. So hopefully we start seeing that in 2021, a little bit more of that involvement for sure.
Thank you. I think one of the things, if I can add in really quickly, is, when we start these organizations or we have these initiatives, I had a little bit of doubt in 2019, like, is it the right time? Is the channel ready for this? And I know I've talked to many of you about this in, one-off conversations, but clearly we were not only ready for it, but we were looking for it. It's something that we know is going to exponentially grow our channel, and it will keep us relevant with regards to our suppliers and our customers, as we embrace these DE&I initiatives. So I'm excited to see how we're going to collaborate this year and grow it even further.
Absolutely awesome. Mayka, Raquel, talk to us a little bit about the ACW Diversity Inclusion.
Sure. I'll start and then have Mayka maybe speak from a new board member perspective. But coming off of the board, I have been serving on the board for the last 3 to 4 years, and really involved with the Alliance of Channel Women in a leadership role for the last 8 years. And so, like many of the organizations that you have, that you see today and that is represented here today, I personally just felt a need that we needed to address, that women in the channel has always been allies and advocates for gender diversity within the channel, knowing what the stats have always been, that they're underrepresentation of women. And yet there just was a pull on my heart, being a woman of color, knowing that there was another piece and another element, another elephant in the room that was not being addressed. And that was that channel was not as diverse when it came to ethnicity. And so I began to have those conversations with board, the 2019 and the 2020 board. And then, of course, the unfortunate, civil unrest took place, all across this country in June of last year. And so, much like Kris said, my approach to the board, and they agreed, was not just for us to, come out with a public statement and a response, but it was really to, put some real action, some real tangible action behind it, and be able to serve not only our current member body, but the member body in the community at whole, and not just women, but, men, transgenders that are in the channel today. And so we officially launched, we started last year, but we officially launched this month, actually, in February. And so we're excited. It's something that is needed. And to know that we have the sponsorship and the support from the board to move forward with creating, various initiatives. And we're looking forward to being able to partner with, some of the organizations that are represented here and others. The great thing is that there's so much work being done in the industry in the masses that, a lot of us don't have to, birth everything from, and we don't have to birth everything from the beginning stages, right? We are going to be able to leverage and collaborate with one another. And that's what I'm excited about, leading this initiative for Alliance of Channel Women, is, not having to be the creator of every little thing, every piece of content, every event, but rather being able to really collaborate with others that are, doing the same work, and making sure that we are helping one another make the change. I've said it before in this forum and in others, is that, being able to be a part of the change that you want to experience and see. And the fact that there are other phenomenal, amazing individuals that are in that same place. And so being able to connect with them, in this capacity, and, and spread the word, spread that sense of energy and synergy to be a change, and really see it, and not just talk about it, but really be about the change. Walk the walk, is what I like to say, is amazing. And so I'm just excited. Timing is always everything. Being able to come off of the board, relinquish some responsibilities, and really be able to take this on, full force. And again, because it's personal, I'm just truly excited and honored that the organization has entrusted, such an initiative like this with me.
Yeah, and thank you, Raquel, so much for being a pioneer and creating that committee as well. You have so much boldness and wit and grit, and I appreciate all of you ladies for, just stepping up and being leaders in this space. And, as a board member now, thank you, Raquel. I feel like I have big shoes to fill. The initiatives of D&I is so incredibly important to me. And, I'm going to do my best, I know with Lauren as well on the board, to make sure that these conversations keep happening, that it's something that doesn't just get pushed on the wayside. And that's my commitment. And that's why I wanted to come here and just, publicly say that is something that I am committed to. I'm going to keep pushing forward. And a big thing with me being on the board, I want to be able to grab all of these groups together and just make change in a bigger way, right? Not just being individual silos, but seeing how we can come together and work together to really make change. 2021 is the year of change. And I really feel like we can get there. So again, thank you. Thank you, ladies, so much for being pioneers. And I guess I will be leading the next question, Lauren, if you are.
Yeah, go for it.
So what can partners do to start a D&I program? I know this is always like the surrounding topic in the channel that we see. I think people don't know where to begin. What is one tip that an organization can start and do right now? I guess we'll start Kris, Raquel, Kelli. We'll switch it around.
So tap your resources. Just do your research. There are so many groups, groups like are represented here on this panel, but groups that are dedicated to actually helping you form these programs within your organization. Check out CompTIA. Yvette Steele over at CompTIA has done some amazing work around this. there is no shortage of resources for you to go to begin your research on this. I think Kelli actually is going to be the one to really, I'm going to bow to her on this. She's actually got a session at Channel Partners next week about this very topic. So that would be my tip. Tap
Check it out.
your research and talk to Kelli.
Along with what Kris is saying, I say that, be willing. First thing is that, I think that an individual would have to act, and an organization would have to ask themselves, are they ready to be a part of change and to drive change? It's not going to be for every organization, and that's okay. I would say that. So first, you got to be real with yourself. Take a look at your organization and say, are we really ready to be uncomfortable? Because it's not a fun, fun-filling thing. There's hard conversations that have to be had, and a lot of work to be done. But as we've all said, you don't have to do it alone. There's so many resources out there that you could, partner and collaborate with. So I think the one tip that I would say is, before you start doing anything, look internal first to say, are we really ready to do something? And know that your something may be very different than Kris's something, or Lauren's something, or Kelli's something. And then begin to connect, like Kris said, begin to look at your resources so that you're not reinventing the wheel. You may be able to partner and join forces with someone and really be able to impact the future.
I'm going to bounce something off that real quick, because I feel there was a time even last year, a lot of companies and organizations felt like they had to do something. There wasn't research or a discussion had beforehand. So that causes sometimes a little bit more of a problem, I think, but I'm just kind of throwing that out there in the conversation. Don't just check the box.
That's
it's
a
one
good
of my
point.
biggest peeves ever, just to do that. So
I will say before Kelli comments is that you're absolutely right, and if you do something, it could be that it's your organization that you're employed with for, it cannot be a check the box, because you'll do more damage by just saying, making a statement to say, we support so-and-so, or we support this type of organization or this cause. And again, it's just a check the box. It's ineffective and it won't work, and you'll do more damage than just kind of staying in your silo. So you make a good point, Lauren, that I think a lot of companies and organizations did feel a responsibility to say something, to come out and do something. But I think that it's okay if they're very careful, and they're no different than when we go to market with solutions. It's okay to be slow to market, when you're going to market with something, because you want to make sure that you get it right. Yeah. It's too important. There's too much at risk. There's too many lives. There's so much sensibility right now with individuals. And again, this is not just about a black or brown, or about female versus male.
Oh, no, diversity is a
big topic, right?
Right. Kelli always touches upon it very good about the inclusion component of it, but it's such a sensitivity, and again, just based on the pandemic, it hits home a little bit different today. So it's so important that right here, right now, that you get it right and you do it right. And it's okay to be fast to follow, then fast to lead, and you burn. So just wanted to say that before you went, Kelli.
So good.
No, that's not all of it. Exactly. Everything that every one of you said is spot on. And I think that the way that you don't lead and burn is by listening internally first. As an organization, we're all here to serve our customer. But I think what we've seen over the last few years is that CX, that customer experience, starts within your organization. And if you don't take a poll of how your employees are feeling, then you can't get a grasp on what resources you need to lean into, because you might have a really great company culture. So maybe it's just setting up a couple ERG groups where people can really come in and get to know each other and bond a little bit more, right? Or maybe you don't have a great company culture and there are other things that you need to assess as well. But when you poll your team, then you can start to pull on resources that are, within similar organizations like you, right? One of the things here at 5-9 is that we were kind of ahead of the curve with regards to ERG groups and our commitment to DE&I. It wasn't necessarily tailored as a complete program, but we have such a great culture that everybody was, before kind of the civil unrest happened on a global scale, everybody was like, hey, what about this group or that group or this group or that group, right? So that's one thing. But I also recently took a class at Cornell where I took their DE&I initiative and with hundreds of students over their 4-week or 2-week 4-session period. And there are plenty of people who companies don't have any culture at all. So you run the gamut with where you are. You need to assess that, and you do that by, to your point, Raquel, being uncomfortable, and as leadership, asking your team, what is it that they need to feel more like a team, to feel more like a welcomed human within your organization.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, I know. Done.
Done. That's it. It's a wrap.
It's a wrap. I think, we said the beginning of this topic is making waves.
Yes.
It sounds like you all are great resources that if anyone does have questions for companies who still need to find out a little bit more information on how to start, to tap into you ladies, and hopefully, you get somebody too who maybe might have some questions and that you can help out. That's what this is all about. So, well, to that, from corporate, what about the channel? Have you guys seen progress in the channel outside of what you guys are building too?
Can I start that one?
Kelli.
What's so funny is that it's kind of, it was a little bit of a rolling joke on when we were going to launch our membership for exposure. And one of the reasons why it's been pushed out a little bit is because I've had more businesses come to us and say, hey, help us create a strategy.
That's awesome.
Help us create a program. We're awesome. Mark, can we pick your brain? And I literally, at least once or twice a week, have some business in the channel, some supplier in the channel, or a sub-agent in this space that's reaching out to say, hey, I feel like we have a little bit of a gap. Can you help? And, to me, that's just as important, if not more important, than facilitating membership conversations, because they're the ones who are setting the stage for our members to come to their organizations. And before I embrace or, promote an organization, I do want to know that you have a solid DE&I strategy or some sorts of, HR policies and initiatives around making sure your employees can feel welcomed, and I know that that's a word that I will burn through all the time, but we spend so much time, and if this pandemic has showed us anything, we spend way more hours now than we do at work and via Zoom meeting than we do with our families, right? My kids will run in and out of here, and all of you have met those little monsters, but they'll run in and out of here in between meetings, and there's a few minutes where I'm able to go and have lunch or whatnot with them, but that's still rare and far in between. I want to know that when I show up to a Zoom meeting, I'm representing not only myself and my family, but I'm representing a great organization when I'm talking to my partners or to other vendor colleagues or whatnot in this space. And that starts with the company that I work for and represent. So, I think for me, that has been eye-opening. And it's been amazing. Some of you have been in channel for way longer than myself. I've been in the channel space for about 6 years now. And I can tell you, when I launched into channel, there was no one that looked like me that I knew of. And especially in leadership positions. And so now to see that they're seeking out how to put more people that look like all of us on this call into leadership positions and how to create programs that would bring them to the table is amazing.
Absolutely. Well said, Kelli. Kris, how are you seeing it too in the channel?
I think that there's really kind of two sides to it, right? So we've got, as Kelli was talking about, such a strong interest from vendors and suppliers and the large organizations on that side of the channel in being committed to diversity and inclusion and equity within their organizations. And just over the last year and a half, 2 years, just the explosion of interest in actually having those uncomfortable conversations and, making this type of culture happen within your organization has just exploded. But then there's the other side of it that is also a little bit encouraging to me when we're looking at partners. So I think that, it's one thing for a big organization with all of these resources to be able to devote the time and the human capital to creating a program like this. But when you take a look at the partner side of it, a lot of them are SMBs. They're just, wearing so many hats already. And so I think that looking at, so just for the MSP 501, just for an example, for the last couple of years, we asked applicants to say whether they were a minority, woman, millennial, or veteran-owned business. And for last year, we had 29% say that they were a minority-owned business. We had 31% say that they were women-owned. And when you cross those, that winds up to about 7% as owned by women of color. Now, these might seem like really low numbers, but if we had asked that question 5-10 years ago, I wonder if we would have gotten anyone that was a color that owned a channel business. So I think that, you'll talk to a lot of organizations, like the ones represented here, but also those like Cloud Girls, right, that are really trying to get more girls and women into STEM. And there are a lot of organizations focused on that in communities of color as well. And the more that those gain traction, then I think we'll start to see a little bit more of a balance on the part side of things. And then the vendors and the distributors, if we can, have programs that would help these partner organizations devote resources to things like that, then I think that that's probably a next step in our industry as far as, how the larger organizations can help the partners in creating this culture of inclusion.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Kris and Kelli, is that, definitely the larger, organizations, you're seeing them do the work. You're hearing about the work that they're doing, and that's great. I think that, there is, the more that we can now push it down at the partner community to Kris's point, to the SMB level, and, allowing the larger organizations to really empower and support them and encourage them to be able to make the change and help them understand the value that it brings to their business. If it's a female-owned, organization, they get it, because they're part of the minority, right? But if it's not, or if there's a hybrid, of ownership, they may not. So it's, starting to create the content, and channel partners are starting to do some of that work to help them understand the value that it brings to their immediate bottom line, and then how that then extends out beyond. And so definitely the work has started, but I would also be the one to say that there is still a lot of work that needs to be done. There are some organizations who have, what I've seen is that have they come out to say something, because back to our point earlier, they felt the need that they had to do it. There was pressure to do it. But if you ask the individuals that are working within those organizations, they feel it's business as usual. So I will begin to feel that the change at the partner level has really taken place when we start seeing people saying that, oh no, I see a change, I feel a change, and here's why. It can be probably an example and provide some case studies behind it, right? To be able to kind of say, this was my experience, and this is how, I've grown, or how I've learned that, doing A, B, C, and D, putting a certain business practice in place, or, making inclusion a part of my overarching, objective and part of my business objectives, that, this is how it's going to benefit me. And by the way, I saw it because of A, B, C, and D, and how to tie it back. So there's work that has been done, but I'm going to be the one in the room to say that there's still a lot more work that needs to be done. But I think we have enough people and organizations that are committed to it. And with, individuals like the ones that are on this platform today and the others that we work with that are not here today, I think that 2021 will be, it will definitely be the year that we'll begin to see things turn so not turn, things be able to turn around.
Yeah, I agree 150%. So that being said, we're going to wrap things up here. Where can we find you guys on social media? Where can we find the organizations? How can people connect with you guys? I guess, Kelli, you go first. Raquel, Kris.
So you can connect with us at exposureidc@gmail. You can connect with us at exposureidc.org. Also on LinkedIn, we have Exposure Inclusion and Diversity Council. We have a business page, and then we also have just like a chat group as well. And so, yeah, you can connect with us in all those places. Yeah.
Is it free membership, Kelli? For those who want to participate?
Actually, right now we only have our members online, and no, our membership will have a cost to it as well because we hope to provide some really great resources to our members. So once we're doing a soft launch in April, but we're doing a hard launch in May. So be ready to be on the lookout for those marketing efforts on LinkedIn because you'll see them in the next few weeks.
We'll be sure to share.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And for the Alliance of Channel Women, so it's allianceofchannelwomen.org. You can also, connect directly to the D&I team at DI@allianceofchannelwomen.org. And of course, we're also on LinkedIn as well. I'm on LinkedIn as an individual. People are more than welcome to reach out to me, which I'm sure we get that all the time. People may not want to tap into Kris at the organizations that she represents, but they definitely want to connect with her on a one-on-one basis. And so I welcome that as well. You can find me Raquel Wiley on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Kris?
Probably the easiest way would be to reach out to us on the Allies of the Channel page on LinkedIn. And then, of course, I'm on LinkedIn as well. You can email me directly at my current job at JS Groups. It's just Kris@jsgroup.com. And then pretty much anyone at Channel Partners, if you reach out to that team, whether it's Craig Galbraith over at the editorial team or Kelli, Buffy Naylor, any of these people, they're all of their emails are listed on the site. So if you can reach out to any of them and they'll put you in touch with the right person.
Awesome. And I know Channel Partners is coming up, so we will have a session there as well. Check it out, D&I session. It's going to be good, so make sure you tune into that. And Lauren, I think it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Ladies, I appreciate it so much. I know to what Raquel earlier said, we had a conversation too almost a year ago. We have to continue the discussions. More than welcome and happy to be hosting and to continue the conversation at a later date every month. Yes, I know we're wrapping up Black History Month. We're wrapping up Black History Month, but it shouldn't just be a month conversation. And I know that was kind of the core focus around this to bring that attention. So let's continue to bring awareness to it and educate. So thank you so much, ladies. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye, ladies.